Your weekend edition of the TraderMerlin show. Cheers, everybody out there. Hope you had a great trading week. It's funny. And you know what? I just have to take a sip real quick. Hold on. You guys remember the beginning of the week, I had a brutal start. Man, I was short in the market on Monday. Fortunately for me, made a huge chunk and then all of it back, and then ended up my week positive because of yesterday's trading. So pretty happy with the way my week turned out. I hope your week turned out well. And Joachim, thank you very much, my friend. I appreciate the contribution that you're always contributing. I do appreciate that. Thank you very much. And I got Jimmy T from Placerville. We got NorCal in the house. Nice. My first place I ever purchased was up in Truckee, California. I am very fond of Northern California, and actually Sean Reed, one of our guests in the program, is up in Placerville as well. So I love the area. I just thought about potentially moving up there. So I was a little bit late. I know. I was actually trying to make sure I got all my data lined up and everything for you guys today. Anyway, yes, I saw some comments about the picture today. It does kind of look like Clark Kent. You gotta love AI in their generation. What I wanted to convey here with these guys standing around was a little bit of disappointment, a little bit of confusion, because, I feel like the way the markets went today, it was one of those weeks where you just really don't have a ton of direction, and it felt like there was confusion, especially when you look at the economic data that came out, which I will show you all of that. Most of the economic data was not very good, and I'll start with that. Let's go and go back to this week's trading. Of course, I'm got a million different things going on my screens, but here is what happened this week from an economic announcement perspective. Let's just start there and work our way down. So on the 17th, which was Monday, you had expectations where we're going to have Empire State Manufacturing numbers decline into the negative territory. Now, the good news is we ended positive. So it was good that we ended positive, just 1.1, but still, declining from the previous month's reading. For those that don't know, Empire State Manufacturing Index is really just a survey of manufacturers and what they think of hiring and supply chain, sales, all that stuff. So it's a reflection of their business overall. I think I was only like a minute late, but true, Steve. A wizard arrives when a wizard wants to arrive, and I'll arrive when I want. Anyway, I try to be on time. But you notice the Empire State Manufacturing Index, the big thing here is it's been negative for quite some time. And I think that is the big problem here because, again, GDP numbers, when you break down the components of GDP, which, of course, we all want to be higher, that was being dragged down by two, durable goods manufacturing and non-durable goods manufacturing. So basically, manufacturing in the U.S. were two of the heaviest negative components of GDP, which brings us down to 2% on our GDP annualized. And historically, going back in the 1940s, it's 3.1%. So ideally, we'd like to be at 3.1%. If manufacturing starts to tick up and look more optimistic, then maybe GDP starts to move up as well. So this is one of those negative factors because while it's still positive, it's not very good with regards to overall manufacturing optimism in the U.S. So that was on your Monday session. We shift to Tuesday. I look at retail sales. Retail sales were disappointing. They changed this last second because it was supposed to be 0.5. They expected 0.3. Then they revised it. They expected it to stay the same. Bottom line is retail sales came in worse than expected, came out at 0.2%, which seems really bad, but when you look at the historical data, 0.2 is not really that bad. If I look historically, let me go way back here into 2000 and how far back you want to go? Let's go 2006. Actually, 2003. We do have some spikes that got rather high, but at least it's not negative. We have positive retail sales numbers. So to me, I think it was decent. It's just not what they expected, and it shows that it's slowing down just a little bit. Let's move into the most recent months so you guys can see we have been for the past 3 months slowly declining on retail sales. A lot of people feel that is due to A, inflation, B, just lack of income and spending. So we'll see if that one continues, but that was also rather negative. Now, if I continue down that list, I guess I could go to industrial production. Negative 0.5, which means on the industrial side, we're not producing as we should be. It's contracting, not very good. Shifting on to Wednesday, you had housing starts. That was worse than expected, which, this is one of those unsung numbers that most people don't look at. But remember, housing starts reflect so many different business opportunities and businesses, period, from the lumber industry to copper to all the wiring that goes into all the accessories for homes. So housing starts is a pretty important one when you think of money being pumped into the economy, and that slowed much greater than expectations. So that's another bad piece. Building permits also slowed down from 1.5 million to 1.44. So all in all, starting to look bad by Wednesday. Now, of course, when Wednesday hit, we had the numbers from Netflix and from Tesla. Now, Tesla beat earnings. Again, yay, good for Tesla. However, the number that most people were focusing on was their profit margin, which has been declining. And that makes sense. Obviously, now they're starting to cut costs because you have all the competition coming in. At one point, they had incredible margins, huge margins. Now they have to cut that to be a little bit more competitive or to squash the competition as they come up. That's just typical business 101. But their margin is still way higher than anybody else. Now, I read one report from an analyst that says based off the current margins, if you value Tesla based off their profit margins, it should be an $85 stock. So that could be interesting going down further, going down over the next couple months. I may make some more trades on Tesla next week. We'll talk about how my trade expired worthless today, which is great. But that was the pivot point. What happened on Thursday was markets kind of going, uh-oh, we are seeing earnings slow down a little bit. Even though companies are beating earnings, it's still slowing down. Yeah, and Tesla is massive. I mean, bigger than most of the car companies out there. I wonder how many you could squeeze together to get the same valuation, but I don't have that in front of me right now. So Wednesday, we started off with all this bad news. Then we got those earnings announcements from Tesla and from Netflix, which sounded great. Then all of a sudden they started to roll over. And then it brought us into Thursday where we had unemployment claims. Good news there. Philly Fed Manufacturing Index, not good. So that's two pieces of bad information from the manufacturing sector. You had existing home sales was also dropping. And as Margaret says, that's housing. You have rates have spiked so much. Eventually, we've talked about this for months. Eventually, you start to put pressure on buyers out there. If I wanted to get a $500,000 loan and that loan was at 2.5%, I can determine a specific amount of payments. Now, I don't have a amortization or loan calculator here, but if I'm looking at a 2.5% loan and $500,000, I might be able to afford that. But as that rate jumps to 5% or 6% or 7%, it may price me out altogether. I may not even qualify anymore for that type of rate. Because of course, when you go to get the loan, they're going to look at your ability to make payments at that rate for the next 15 or 30 years, depending on which mortgage you sign up for, or apply for. So that was another bad piece there, was that existing home sales. I didn't really like those numbers. They came out. And Friday, we didn't have anything that was really that important for us today. You should get a mortgage broker on the show as a guest. I could do that. Yeah, I wouldn't mind using. It's funny because there are different segments to the mortgage industry. Maybe I'll ask the guy that I use. He's from Northern California. It's a friend of my dad's, and I've used him for most of my property purchases. Just a really good guy and always gets me some of the best rates out there. But yeah, I think you should definitely know the person that you're dealing with. I've seen, most of the time you're going to get the same basic numbers from firm to firm. If you know someone, sometimes you can get a little bit better deals with less fees than you would pay at some other brokerage firm. So sure, let me know. Margaret, you said you should get a mortgage broker on the show. Email me something like, what would you like to know? If you guys would like to talk to a mortgage broker or a lender, what type of questions would you have for them? And then what I can do is I can build a show around that. Because otherwise, I could bring them on or bring one on. It could just kind of drift, not aimlessly, but the conversation could drift wherever I want it to go. And that may not be what you guys are interested in. So I think it would be a good show, but I'd like to know what specifically you'd like to talk about. My email's on the screen, TraderMerlin@gmail.com. Let me know there if you want something, if a mortgage broker on the show, what questions would you ask of them? And that way I can send them over and get it going on easier. Tom, Tesla at 85 sounds like a car company. Yes, and that's why I do not think it's going to go to 85. So now let me transition over there just because we have the economic stuff out of the way. Now, of course, you all know next week is going to be absolutely monstrous, and I don't know what's going to happen on Wednesday. If you read the article I wrote for Bar Chart this morning, you guys know the talk track, or at least not talk track, but what my beliefs are. Right now, I'm actually in that 0.2% camp. I still am holding on to that little glimmer of hope that the Fed's going to do the right thing and not raise, to not shock the system anymore. Let us recover a little bit without Fed intervention, without raising rates, and see how this economic data progresses. If they wait, not this meeting, but till the next meeting, that gives us another couple of months to see what CPI looks like, what core PCE price index looks like, what unemployment numbers look like, what GDP looks like. And if those numbers start to get worse, okay, you raise another 25 basis points. If they start to get better, then you get to hold off again. And we may not even get another rate increase by the end of the year. I know it seems absurd. Many of you are like, it's funny because Bar Chart actually retweeted the article that I wrote. And of course, Bar Chart has hundreds of thousands of viewers more than me, or 100,000 viewers more than I do. And instantly people are like, oh, that guy's wrong. He doesn't know what he's talking about. He's crazy. It is a long shot. But remember, everybody is pricing in that the rate is going to go up. Now, it probably will. I'll be honest. When I see the Fed funds futures price it in like that, it's hard to go the other direction. Let me bring it up for you guys just so you can see it, see where we're at today. But it's really hard to see things buck that trend. Remember, the traders that are trading these futures products are connected on the high hills, man. They know what's going on. And here you can see 99.8% probability they're going to give a 25 basis point increase next Wednesday. So, it probably will happen. I'm just hanging on to the thread of hope that the Fed will do the right thing, which is let's not go too quick. Now, what I didn't write in the article for Bar Chart, because I'm just tired of writing. I don't like writing stuff. And I was like, okay. I was focusing on the stuff that we've looked at, which is the dual mandate by the Fed, unemployment numbers and inflation. So inflation, obviously the major talk track there, but inflation has come from 9.1% down to 3%, and it's been dropping huge every month on that CPI reading. And we still have five rate cuts that technically have yet to hit the market, yet to hit the economy, which could further push that down. And I think you might get below 2% here in a very short window of time. Now the question is, people are saying it's going to surge back up. Okay, why would it surge back up? Well, some of the other things that might impact why the Fed would want to raise rates is unemployment is still sticking at 3.6%, which is far lower than their 5.5% full employment data they talked about years ago. So they could let unemployment rally up here a little bit. So what's more important to them? The unemployment number, which is historically low, or inflation? And that's the only reason I think that they will jump 25 basis points is what do they have to worry about? They're not worried about unemployment at this moment in time. So let's raise it again and really crush inflation. My concern, though, is that you're pushing that pendulum too far too fast, and the momentum is already declining for inflation. What if they go too aggressive and all of a sudden we go to an aggressive deflation market environment? Just throwing hypotheticals out there. Just don't know. What was the comment there from Day Trader Talk? All the good results are priced in. Time for big players to book profits. How do you see this, brother? Let me hold off on that one. It's a great comment, and I agree with you. The markets ended this week in a fashion that has me rubbing my hands, going, "Oh yes, my precious, this looks great." I'm really looking forward to negative stuff next week. The only thing is I don't want to be carrying all week because of that Fed announcement. As you guys know, I love this graphic that my buddy Tim made for me. It's going to look like that right after that announcement. And you're going to get whipsawed all over the place. That will be your popcorn trade of the day. It will just be Wednesday, period. Not to mention we have Apple and Amazon and Google and all these other major companies reporting next week. So I'll go into the charts here in just a second to show you what happened this week and kind of how I view next week's setting up. But I do agree with you. I think it's somewhat priced in. If there's a fear gauge that I think Bar Chart puts that out there. Let me see if I can find that one for you. Right now, there's no fear. Everyone is just so overly optimistic on these markets. It's just screaming to the upside. Yeah, you had a 2-day down period for the markets. Let me see if I can find bar charts here for you. Oh, there happens to be right there in the front. Gotta love this one. So here it is. This is the Fear and Greed Index. Right now, the equity markets are sitting at 82, which is extreme greed. Well, when you have this, and you guys heard me say this before, my old mentor, many years ago, decades ago at this point, started feeling really old. If you have everybody greedy, that's when markets are going to go down. When you have everybody really fearful, that's when markets going to go up. And this just piggybacks with Warren Buffett's comment he made years ago. I think he's the one famous for it, or somebody. There are actually multiple people have said this, but Warren Buffett gets the credit. He got it from I forgot who it was. It wasn't Rockefeller or something like that. Said, when there's blood in the streets, that's when you want to be buying. Well, the opposite of that is when everyone's so euphoric, they're just not paying attention. They're all greedy. That's when markets are set for a sell-off. So let's run through our top 7 markets here just so I can show you what happened there this week. Most of you know what happened this week, but I'll just pull them up one by one. I'll start with today. Here's your worst performer on the day, Russell 2000. Unfortunately, I would love to see Russell got a little bit higher here, so it would have been overbought on RSI, which would have caused more people to come in and be sellers next week. But right now, we're just seeing a little 2-day rollover in the Russell, although it had a nice engulfing pattern yesterday. That was down 0.47 for the day. Gold also sold off for the 3rd day in a row. And unfortunately for me, my silver, as you guys know, did I say top 7, Ricardo? I meant top 8. You know what I mean. Yeah, Larry, good to see you, Larry. Be greedy when others are fearful, and be fearful when others are greedy. Yeah, who said it? It wasn't Warren Buffett is like gets the credit for it, but there was somebody before that. I can't remember the name. I want to say it was Rockefeller. Somebody did that. All right, a little more sip there, whiskey. So we look at the gold price chart here, 3-day pullback, but technically, actually, I'm starting to feel more comfortable with gold. You guys remember when we have the chart look like this, I'm not comfortable with gold. Right? It looks like it's in a downtrend since the beginning of or at least since April. Lower lows, lower highs. We had that yellow box and it tipped down in there, and I'd agreed with a lot of you that this isn't really that strong of a demand zone because it's hit it multiple times. Well, it's respected it now, and all of a sudden we find ourselves in a situation where gold has started to make a very short-term uptrend. Higher highs, higher lows, keeps going. Okay, so what that means for me is if I can see gold, put a horizontal line right here just because I like playing horizontal levels. If I see gold get above 2,000, a close above 2,000, then I think you're going to see it rip to 2050. Then we step back and look at getting right back to these all-time highs, which are going to be right around, I don't have the weekly up, but we'll get the all-time highs right around 2050. So I think we could challenge all-time highs if we get a close above 2,000 on gold. Of course, a lot of that depends on the US dollar. All right, bonds. So for today's trading activity, you saw that huge spike, or a significant spike up. I want to say huge, but a significant move up yesterday in the yield for the 10-year. Today we gave back just a hair, so not that big of a deal. It's down 0.34. Here's the one that I think is the most interesting on the week. We had the trade for me yesterday based off this little shooting star, really expecting there to be a pullback, and fortunately I was positioned properly and capitalized on a bulk of this move down. Made my week. I love how one trade can just make your week and then some. But notice how we finished the week. We're almost dead lows on the NASDAQ futures, right? The low of the day for the NASDAQ 100 futures was 15,522, and we closed at 15,540. So just 18 points off the dead low. That's not reassuring. And of course, a lot of that coming on the heels of things like Microsoft, right? We talk about Microsoft being reduced in the NASDAQ 100 index. Now, I saw a comment earlier saying, do we have clarity? I didn't see anything that said definitively, here's what's going to happen with the Microsoft or Apple in the NASDAQ 100 ETF or QQQs. However, I think Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, you saw the selling come in, right? That was people that were forced to get out of Microsoft knowing there's some rebalancing. And of course, we talked about it last week on how this was probably going to have a negative impact on the NASDAQ. It just didn't happen until the last 3 days. Now you look at Apple, which is still going to be the number one component, but you had a nice little 2-day pullback there in Apple as well. Nothing as dramatic as Microsoft. Of course, the earnings for these guys coming out next week should be rather interesting. But let's take a peek at one chart here. Actually, no, I'm jumping all over the place. Let me finish my top 8, and then I'll go to my favorite picture. All right, S&P 500 on the daily as well. We had a fairly negative Thursday. Friday, today, we started to rally up. It looked good. I love this pattern, by the way, guys. I wish the markets were open tomorrow. I really do. Because you see today's candle. I can't put my cursor on it because it puts a dotted line. But you guys see today's candle, that hard edge, one on the right side. At one point, this was just a big red candle. And all of a sudden, big green candle. And then it gave it all back and ended right near the session lows. That is such a great tug of war moment where the sellers said, oh yeah, you guys think it's going to go up? It's going to rip it back down. And that to me is a very bearish sign. Unfortunately, markets are closed, so we have to wait until Sunday night to get that thing to follow through. But it's already setting up for a potential negative. And yeah, Larry says shooting star for Apple in the weekly. I'm going to look at a lot of weekly charts here in just a second because rest in peace, Bob Dunn. Bob Dunn will be looking at me going, I like what you're saying, Merlin. He'd love it. All right, top 3, dollar index. Right, we had that huge sell-off in the dollar index. We got down to 100, actually broke 100 on the dollar index, and now 4 days in a row we've seen moves back up, which of course is part of the reason why we saw equity markets sell off for the last 3 days. Momentum might be curling back up here. I don't know which way this is going to go, but it feels like a little bit of a recovery in that Dixie and the dollar index. So if we get further upside movement, expect more pain next week for the equity indexes. Bitcoin, 0.4% gain. Good news is we're still above that 29,740 mark that I have marked off on my screen, but not by much. We're at 29,885, so just barely up 0.8% on the day. All right. As I'm ripping through this stuff, what time? Okay, good. We're doing good. Crude oil. So crude oil came smoking back up today. We had it's such great candlestick formations, but they're not getting the follow through that I would expect them to have. We had that bearish engulfing pattern last week on Thursday and Friday, followed through on Monday. We had a little bit of a shooting star, although it wasn't at the top of an uptrend on Wednesday. No follow through there. Right now, you're sitting right at the highs that we established last Friday. So Friday to Friday, almost no change in the price of crude oil, but today up 1.88%. So here's where it gets interesting. Let's change this to the weekly, right? Bob Dunn loved those long-term charts. You look at crude oil on the weekly, buy it, right? Go long crude oil. You're making some shorter-term highs here. Probably going to hit that 82.27 mark in the next few weeks, maybe a month or so. Okay, great. Let's go to the indexes, though. Here's the one that I'm really interested in. You have a beautiful textbook shooting star. Like, this is about as good as it gets. And the only thing that I would say to make this pattern look better is if we have the candle further up and outside the range of last week's trading activity. But what you have is a big pronounced uptrend, been going and going and going and going and going. And then today you have a shooting star formation which closed almost at the dead low to the T. This is a great candle for me on Monday. I think that there will probably most likely be Monday, Tuesday, some sell-off, but then I would think the whole week next week is going to be a sell-off. However, it all comes down to what happens on Wednesday. If you want to watch the markets lose its freaking mind and go nuts, watch Jerome Powell say, we're going to pause for a second meeting on Wednesday. Then it doesn't matter what you have bearish, this market is going to rip to the upside. So I would err on the side of caution next week just because it's a 0.2%. So as they said in Dumb and Dumber, so you're saying there's a chance, right? There is a chance that they pause. And if they do, these markets are going to go absolutely gangbusters to the upside. So that weekly chart looks great. I love it. I do expect a sell-off. And let's just look at the ETFs. Here's SPY. Here's the triple Qs, which of course, same picture. S&P 500, similar, although more positive, right? You notice you have the green real body here as opposed to the red. Now, what's interesting is you look at the diamonds, the Dow, great week for the Dow, right? Moving to the upside. I think a lot of that has to do with some of the bigger financials that have done really well. You look at the Russell 2000, which is IWM. It also looks pretty decent. I don't know if I wouldn't call this a shooting star really because it closed kind of middle of the range. So really the one that's in the main focus is going to be the NASDAQ, triple Qs. Now, as Larry types in there, he goes, Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, Google, Tesla, top weighted stocks for the QQQ. Not only that, Larry, but if you take the top 7 holdings in the NASDAQ 100, it represents 55% of the weighting. So just so I can show you guys here, the weightings have not changed yet, but here is the weightings of the NASDAQ 100. Microsoft, almost 13% of the index. Apple, 12.3. So if you took just these top 7, and remember, Alphabet here is 2 separate companies, so I'm counting those 1. Alphabet, Tesla, Meta, Amazon, Nvidia, Apple, and Microsoft. You add those 7 companies together, you're looking at about 55% of the NASDAQ in 7 companies. That is so unbelievably overweighted. That's why they're talking about cutting Microsoft and Apple at least a couple percentage points. And right now, from what I was reading, they're saying Apple's going to get cut to about 10.5 to 11, and Microsoft may get cut to 9. So you can see there, that would be almost a 4% reduction in the weighting of the NASDAQ 100 for Microsoft, which, of course, you saw the move today. Oh, look at that shooting star on Microsoft. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Yeah, that's a pretty great looking short opportunity, but let's not be tricked. They come out with earnings on Tuesday, so be very, very careful here. It sucks because I want next week, if it was just a normal average run-of-the-mill week, I would probably go in there and be loading the boat short once I got confirmation. And you guys all know my rules for confirmation. If we look at the triple Qs, here's the triple Qs. If I have this low right below the low of yesterday or today's candle, or on the weekly candle, excuse me, that low price for the triple Qs is 375.19. All right, so I'm going to put that right here, and I'm just going to say 375. So, oops, dyslexia setting in 375. So what I would be doing myself, if I was trading this on Monday, which I will be, I would be waiting for an open up above 375. And you can see that red line there. So if we open up anywhere above that on Monday and then start to break down below it, I'm going to start shorting. And I'm going to start shorting heavy and heavy and heavier and heavier and heavier. The only problem is Wednesday. Wednesday really freaks me out with the FOMC. Now, granted, we'll look at the earnings calendar here in just a minute, but Tuesday you've got Microsoft's earnings, which could create a massive amount of volatility. Again, that will be one of our popcorn trades for the day. I think on Wednesday, I believe on Tuesday you have Microsoft. Wednesday, I think you've got Google and Apple, and Thursday is Amazon. I mean, the list, it's crazy the amount of companies that are reporting earnings next week, but I'll show you all that here in just a second. So, I think that might have answered the question that came through a few minutes ago from Day Trader. Do I think it's all priced in and they're going to book profits? I don't know if it's priced in. My gut would tell me that it is. But when I look at the charts, right, that's really all I care about. I think there was certainly some profit taking going on this week. Obviously, markets are down. Like, duh, Merlin, thanks for the great comment. Well, markets are down. We'll call that profit taking. But if you look at the longer term time frames, like I said, we have that weekly up there. That speaks volumes to me. We have great trend, and all of a sudden you got a nice little red candle. Now, granted, we've had red candles every other week. So, there's somebody out there that's going to tell me, Merlin, notice here we have the big green candle followed by a hesitant red candle, and then it rallied up again and rallied. Hey, that's fine. If the markets rally up on Monday, I'm cool with that too. I won't make the trade because I'm waiting for it to break down below 375 on the triple Qs. That's pretty much all I'm looking for. So I'm trying to keep it very, very, very simple. Do you chart any equal weighted index? The only equal weighted index that I can think of off the top of my head is the US dollar index, which takes, I believe it's 5 different currencies. They each have 20% weighting, and they're very even because the Dixie is like 50% euro. It's totally biased towards the euro, but we still look at the Dixie index here on the show. None of the other indexes are equally weighted. Right? There's nothing out there that's equally weighted. The S&P, the Russell, the Dow, the NASDAQ, those are all going to be skewed based off whatever analysis method they have implemented. NASDAQ is the most biased one out there. It's ridiculous to have companies that are that overweighted. If we look at, let me see if I can bring up some other ones here for you. I may have actually removed them. So here's your NASDAQ 100 companies and the weightings. Here's the S&P, which you've looked at. Let's go. It should have weight analysis. Is that what's that? Oh no, damn! I forget which one it is. Which it is? The S&P 500, not component performance. That's weird. Where is it? It should just be right there. Oh, okay. It's just under the companies. Sorry, I'm just doing this. I never clicked those buttons before. Here you have even something like the S&P 500. I mean, you have 500 companies, and Microsoft and Apple already are 14% of the index. That doesn't make sense. That the other 400 and actually it's the other 501 companies, because I believe there's 503, carry the rest of the burden here. It's just way overweighted. Now, if you look at the Dow, which I believe is here as well, this is still overweighted. But notice I'm not seeing Apple and Microsoft and number 1 and number 2. This is a bit more evenly distributed. But when I look down here, Walgreens it's less than 0.5% in the weighting. Whereas I look at something like United Health Group, which this is a price-weighted index, so the higher the price, the better for the index. United Health Group is the most influential here, 9.42%. All right, let's see. Merlin, Bitcoin is in heavy trouble, closing below 29,005, daily 3,000 point target. Please review this as all the global markets are seeing profit booking, but Bitcoin looks dangerous below this level. Well, we talked about that one a little bit here, Day Trader. I'm definitely optimistic that it's going to hold, right? It's been that line in the sand for quite some time. So let me bring up the Bitcoin futures chart. And I should look at the spot chart, but we'll look at the futures. You look at this weekly, it's not good. And this is not a good chart. Some would argue that this is actually a bull flag, where you got the pole that goes up for 2 weeks and you have 4 weeks of sideways. I would argue that the flag typically isn't that long when you're looking pole versus flag. But if you look at it on a daily, the good news is we're holding, although it has shown weakness last week. I think my gut tells me you're going to get a head fake. My gut tells me that you're going to get a rip down. It's going to break down below that level. And then all of a sudden you'll get the SEC come out and say, we approve the BlackRock spot Bitcoin ETF, and this thing's going to go gangbusters. So, I'm a hodler with it, so I'm not worried about stop losses on Bitcoin. I will hold it for the next until 2025 is when I'm holding it till, and then I'll make the decision if I'm selling it all and waiting based off the 4-year cycle. But we talked about the 4-year cycle on a video I did for Bar Chart, which you guys can find it, I think, on their YouTube channel, or I can post it as well if you want. All right, what else do I got here? Marcus says SPXEW. Never heard of it. SPXEW. Oh, equal weight. I wonder how they do that. Yeah, it's not coming up for me. I get invalid symbol. And the thing, Margaret, that's even if there was an equally weighted index, here's the thing. We deal in a business of mass psychology, of manipulation of mass psychology. So it's critical for me, and I say this introspectively, and I say the royal we, because I'm pretty sure you would agree with me, that if I'm looking at price charts and I'm making decisions as to what the supply and demand zones are, where the institutions might be, where the retail investors might be, I have to be looking at the chart that everyone else is looking at. So even if I think that the NASDAQ 100 index is a joke, I think it's completely manipulated, it's way overweight in those tech stocks, it shouldn't be that way, it's wrong, it doesn't matter what my opinion is, does it? At all. I have to look at that index because that's where my plays will be made. Now, certainly the chart would look very different if every stock in the NASDAQ 100 or the S&P was calculated as equal weight, but they're not. If I look at a company like Skyworks, great company in wireless communications, sure. But is that going to be the same type of company as Apple? Does Apple have more clout, more pull, more global impact? Sure it does. Okay, give it more weight. And again, I'm not going to try to justify, whether it's good or bad to have these indexes so overweighted. I think it's wrong, but I really don't care because I'm just trying to trade price. So even if that index was 95% Apple and everything else made up the remaining 5%, cool. As long as I can capitalize on the price movement of that index, that's all that matters. Because when I buy Apple, you guys know I've been long silver. I don't care about silver. I'm not using silver. I think silver has a good future ahead of it because it'll always be utilized for certain goods and manufacturing and industry service stuff. But I don't really care. I'm just trading the price and maybe some of the fundamentals of silver. When Big Eb said that he bought NTES because Larry was on the show talking about NTES, I'm pretty sure that deep in his mind, he's like, who cares about NTES? I could give a crap about NTES. I'm buying it because I'm hoping it goes up and I make money. I use that word hope. I know, I shouldn't curse on the show. Hope is a foul, vile, disgusting 4-letter word. Don't use the word hope. I am expecting it, how about that, to go up in price. So, I don't really, when I look through this list over here, and I'm saying, these are all the different things I'm looking at, I really don't care what they are. I'm just trying to capitalize on some price movement based off this price chart because I know that the masses, the world, the institutions, the traders, trade desks are all looking at this chart. Therefore, how can I use that to make me money? So my rant for the day. So if the Fed approves, is that your second shot at MicroStrategy? Yeah, MicroStrategy is going to go absolutely gangbusters. And it would not surprise me to see MicroStrategy be involved in some litigation and lawsuits trying to push through a spot Bitcoin ETF, because if that happens, man, they're going to go way higher. You could be, is praying okay. I love it. Yes, MicroStrategy, I think it'll go way higher. And, if we get that spot Bitcoin ETF approved, it may seem crazy to think that this thing could double in price in a very short window of time, but it's very possible for MicroStrategy to have that kind of pop. As you guys know, in the article I wrote for Bar Chart, if that Bitcoin ETF gets approved, I think you could see a 50% pop, which would put Bitcoin at 45,000 in a very short window of time. So praying is okay. I'm not a religious man, but I found myself praying on many a trade. So pray all you want. Hope I think praying, you're supporting your trade. I think when I think of the word hope, it tells me that when you go into something with hope, you're like, oh, I hope it does this. To me, you've already set yourself up for a loss because you shouldn't hope that something does it. You should say, based off this, I have an X% probability of it working in my favor. If your probability is hope, then good luck. You're not going to make it. It's kind of like me playing the lotto. Yes, I played the lotto. We got that $1 billion winner. I'll tell you what, man, I got super excited when I heard it was from California. I was like, yeah, baby, I won. I'm still going to do the damn show, though. I might do it less than 5 days a week, but didn't win. In that case, I hope, because we know the odds are so unbelievably slim that would ever happen, that I would actually win that thing. But I hope I win tonight. Anyway, I hope somebody on this program wins tonight. What else do I got? I got MicroStrategy on there. Then can't be your only rant of the day. You got whiskey. Yeah, I just have a lot of things I got to take care of. My rants are small on this Friday. All right, what else we got to talk about? So I went through, we talked about the probability of that Fed rate hike. Most likely it's going to happen. I'm still hanging on like Dumb and Dumber. I think they're saying there's a chance, and if it does, I think it'll be a big shock to the system. Let's go to, we talked about that one. I'm trying to go through, I have a whole bunch of questions that came in that I really need time to sit down and map those ones out and get all the graphics done. So I'm going to do a special show on Monday, I think, that's dedicated to one viewer that has sent in a whole bunch of different questions. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to combine them all, and I'm going to do a special show. And I'll even use your name for the show. I won't use the last name, but maybe I will. We'll see. It'll be fun. If you win, does your offer to your loyal viewers... What was the offer again? What was I going to give you guys? What was it, Les? Hope is a lack of confidence. Yeah, right, Jimmy. Hope means that you don't really know what's going on. You're guessing. It's not a calculated decision. It's like, oh, I hope this works. You just throw your arms up like, I don't know. You should never make trades off of hope. It just basically says you don't know what you're doing. You're gambling, and this is not gambling. This is speculation. Everything we do is speculation. All the trades I've made this week, which I made quite a few this week, speculation. Just so we can wrap up some of the trades, I know some of you were following Tesla. Obviously, my Tesla expired worthless today, so that was great. I had 5 puts, which I forget how long I've had those, a couple weeks maybe. But that was a nice rate of return, ended up being about $1,200 profit, and I had the 240, so that was expired worthless today. I had SLV. I was really hoping that we would have gotten below 2250 because I had some calls against my current position at 2250 and 22. So a bulk of my silver is now going to disappear. It's going to, well, not disappear, it's just out of my account. I will sell more puts on silver starting Monday. I still have a good chunk that has the $24 strikes, which I have until... I did the 24s for August, so that's actually the next month out, but I got some great premium on that as well because I did it just a few days ago. All in all, looking pretty good. You're going to share some of your winnings, only to the viewers who... Oh, yeah, I forget what amount it was. I don't think I was going to give $200,000 to everybody. I don't think. I knew we were going to do a trip, so I think the easiest thing to do would be like, we'll rent a cruise ship, the whole damn cruise ship, and then we'll all go do... What we'll do is I'll get all the really great traders that I know that I really like, and we'll see if we can get everyone enticed to go on a nice big cruise. I don't know, probably at least 3 day, maybe a week through the Bahamas or something. And, all right, maybe I'll pay for the airfare and your tickets. So get some traders that I think are really great, so we can have some meetings and learn and have some more fun along the way. Thanks, day trader. Appreciate it. Love you too. We're going to Vegas or Hawaii. I would say, John, Vegas, let's not do Vegas. Come on. Vegas would get scattered. It would be more fun, I think, to do a cruise and go to some, fun, nice island somewhere. And I've been on, or I've heard about cruises where they take you on the boat and, you pay to go on these things. They're really expensive, but they have a bunch of different breakout rooms where you can learn from different traders, different instructors. But I think, if I end up winning, please, knock on wood, $700 million after taxes, it'll probably be $200 million. No problem to dump $1 million or $2 million on renting out the whole boat, airfare, and bringing on some people that would have some fun along the way. So yeah, there we go. Have to include some scuba diving? Yeah, not for me anymore. My anxiety won't let me scuba dive anymore. Man, it sucks. I love scuba diving too. Let's see. Gary, thank you very much, sir. I appreciate that contribution. I'll put that to good use. I haven't made any real major upgrades to the show. Actually, my computer, which is surprising, I think my power supply is about to fry, so I ordered another power supply. So you guys just paying for my power supply for this computer so I can stream this show without it dying on you. So yeah, we'll do the Bahamas. I'm going to Jamaica in September, so I want to double up there. But after I change my name, you betcha. Not quite sure what my name would be. I think I know what my name would be, but I'm not going to tell you what that would be. I will still go by my real birth name forever, but my ID and all that stuff legally will say a different name. I'll keep that for 3 or 4 years, and then I'll switch it back. Oh, the plans. It's so funny to have the whole plan in place on what you're going to do if you win the lotto, but I'll probably never win the lotto. I'm being optimistic, right? I'm hoping. All right. Yeah, no, actually, Lisa, I'll actually scuba dive. I'll scuba, but I don't want to go into the 80 feet. I don't like when I'm told I have to stop. So you guys, if you go down, I think it's 1 atmosphere, you go down to the 2nd atmosphere, you have to decompress. So they force you to stop at 15 feet underwater for like 5 minutes. And I don't like being told I can't go to the surface when I want. So if I freak out, I want to be able to go right up. So you get me in 20, 30 feet of water, I'll snorkel, scuba dive all day long. I love it. But when you're down at 100, 120 feet and you start having a panic attack, I assure you, it's not comfortable. Yeah, not good. I'm going to go this one from Jason, and this is a tough one for me. So the Iraqi dinar, I don't trade Forex that much anymore. If I do, I'm typically trading the FX futures. Jason says, do you see the Iraq dinar coming back to Forex? Not really. It's just not one of those things that's going to have a lot of liquidity, and it's no offense to the Iraqi people or anything like that. It's just, if I'm going to trade any spot pair, it has to have liquidity. And even things like the South African rand, which I would argue is probably have way more liquidity than the Iraqi dinar, even that one doesn't have a lot of liquidity, right? The Mexican peso, way more liquidity than the Iraqi dinar is ever going to have. And I still don't trade the Mexican peso because it's not as liquid as the euro, the yen, the pound, those types of currencies. So I personally, if it does come back, I think it's going to be a very risky and volatile pair to trade, whether it's paired against a dollar or some other currency. So I personally wouldn't do it. And, Jason, I got to ask why. Why do you want that one to come back? If you're an Iraqi, great. I'm sure it'll be good and a positive thing for your country. Awesome. But again, going back to my comment from earlier, I'm not trading the euro or the yen, the pound, Apple, Microsoft, Intel, Bitcoin, anything because take Bitcoin out of the equation. But I'm not trading any of those because I'm personally attached to those companies or that currency. It's just, what can I do to make money? Bob Dunn used to trade the Mexican peso. He was a floor trader for currencies, so he probably was way more astute than I will ever be with the Mexican peso, and he knew all the little nuances. So if you are trading something that's thinly traded, you got to know all the details. Your thoughts on shorting companies that will be reporting a big drop in revenue to the bad brand marketing moves, specifically Target and Budweiser? Great question. So those companies coming out with earnings, I had actually been looking at selling puts on Budweiser again because I made the point back here in May when all this fiasco started with them that I think long haul they're going to be okay. Now, remember, the earnings are going to get hit because of what happened with Budweiser. There's no doubt about it, but it's not as catastrophic because everyone thinks that they have like this Anheuser-Busch is just Bud and Bud Light. That's not true. Anheuser-Busch is part of AB InBev. You can see right here at the end of it, AB InBev, which has 500 different brands. And most likely all these yahoos that are so up on arms about Bud Light doing what they did, they probably went to drink another beer that most likely is owned by AB InBev. So I don't see the decline being as severe. I think, Tom, as that number does come out, we'll see when the date is. I think what you've got up here, a couple weeks? August 3rd. So on August 3rd, they come out with their earnings. I do expect the number to be low. I do expect it to drop, but I don't think it's going to be catastrophic as many others are expecting it to be. So I will probably be comfortable selling puts. We'll see where price is as we get closer, but I'd be comfortable selling puts on Budweiser or Anheuser-Busch because I'm okay owning it long term. And I also think, if you look at Target, right? So Target, suffered a pretty sharp decline here, but notice it's pretty much basing. People are going to forget about a lot of this. It's the media pushing it and influencers pushing it to keep it in the spotlight and keep it going, but typically this stuff kind of fades away. And I've used the analogy of the NFL where so many people were up in arms of Colin Kaepernick and others taking a knee and making it a political statement in football that a lot of people said, screw this. I'm not watching football anymore. I'm tired of it. I'm sick of the NFL. And how many people do you know, be honest, how many people do you know personally that said that? Oh, screw the NFL. I'm done with this garbage. What are they doing every Sunday? Sit in front of that TV watching football games because they'll just forget about it. And maybe they won't drink Bud Light, right? That's different. You're talking one specific product. Target? Come on, Target's an addiction. Target is retail therapy. If you're depressed, you go to Walmart or Target, man. That's where you go buy a whole bunch of crap to make yourself feel better and you don't waste a lot of money. So I think that Target, if I had to choose the two long-term who's going to perform better, probably Target, because I think it's just got more products to sell. I don't think people will boycott it altogether. There is no alternative to the NFL. That's true. Well, actually there is. There's the CFL, and now there was the what was it? The Powder Puff League? That one was bad. That was really bad. Collegiate football, SEC, yeah. So, I don't know, Tom. I don't expect there to be a bloodbath when these guys report earnings. I think that it already got priced in. And think about the decline that Target had just from this peak here on May 13th to its low. It would already drop 23%. Do you think that they literally lost 23% of sales overall? I don't think so. I don't know. Maybe I'm plain ignorant here. You're down 17.66% as we speak. And now let's look at Budweiser, Anheuser-Busch. Oops, not Bus, B-U-D. Right, remember, this is only a small percentage of their overall number. And at one point they were down 20%. And this is actually when I wrote my article. I think it actually was this day. And I said, their price is down 20%. But if you look at the fundamentals and how much Bud Light is to the overall company of AB InBev, which is a global conglomerate, it's not going to be a 20% drawdown in the share price. So that was a discount. Right now we're looking at an 11% discount. Is that fair? I think it's probably still a little too low because honestly, the Europeans, they don't care. They're not going to be making an issue about this Bud Light stuff. It's going to move over. Frisbee football. I have checked with some traders who are mama bears and they have sworn off Target. Look at the longer term chart on TGT. Yeah, we'll look at the longer term. Yeah. Well, this was going on long before that, right, Tom? I mean, Target wasn't making those statements back in August of 2021. The real sharp decline happened here. And I think Target's fine investment long term. The question is, where are you comfortable holding it? We have this little area of consolidation that goes all the way back to 2020. You have that little blue box on there. I personally would be fine selling puts down at that 120 level. Maybe I will put my money where my mouth is next week. How about that? I'll do that next week. I think we'll be okay. Hopefully we get some sell-off on Target next week so I get better premium. I'll sell the 120s because it's right in the middle of the zone, and I'll be fine with that, and I'll hold it. You know what? If you look at Bud and Bud Light, they're just very light lagers, right? Every country has their own version of Budweiser. Like if you go to Red Stripe is just Jamaican Budweiser. If you look at Chang Beer is Thailand's version of Budweiser. Every country's got one, but there is clever marketing on the part of these companies in the U.S. that has now bled into international markets. So you do see Bud Light around the world because it's just a name. And when I go through Thailand and I see all these people that are on the beaches partying, celebrating, I don't think they're like, oh yeah, that beer? Yeah, I don't want that. Just give me a beer. Bud Light, great. Let's go. Yeah, Merlin versus Elon. Look, I'm a small guy. I'm pretty sure he would just sandwich me. He would just dive on top of me. By the way, did you guys see the pictures of Mark Zuckerberg training? I don't know if I shared that with you. Dude, I would not F around with Mark Zuckerberg. Let me see real quick. He's training with a bunch of really top-notch celebrities, and some of the pictures I was like, holy cow, he's ripped. Here you go. I'm hoping the picture comes up clear for you. Hold on while it loads up. I always wait to transition you guys over in case some weird ad pops up or I get some crazy graphic on my screen, but for some reason this one's taking a long time to load up, so hopefully it'll be up here soon. Anyway, he's trading with a couple really prominent MMA fighters, and the dude looks chiseled. Makes me wonder, like, are you spending any time at your company, or Let's see. There you go. So here it is. Oh, great. Right as I click on that one, it disappears. So I can just refresh it. That's Zuckerberg in the middle, right? He's pretty ripped. Sorry, the ad's popping up. But, I mean, he's in pretty good shape. When you look at Elon Musk looks like the guy that's been sitting over at the In-N-Out Burger having double-doubles all day long, not looking so good. So I, for one, would be very interested to see how this fight goes down. Would be great. Would be really, really good. Come to India. I was supposed to go years ago with Online Trading Academy. I was going to go over and teach there, and I ended up going to Dubai, and then Brandon Wendell and a couple other the OTA instructors, they kind of took over the whole India education side. So it's not on my list right now. I like tropical destinations, so I'm actually looking to go back to Thailand. I'd love to go back to Vietnam, Cambodia, maybe Seychelles or the Maldives. Get me on some nice deserted island. That's where I want to be. All right, I'm rambling, and I almost went an hour today, so let me wrap up here real quick. I will show you guys the economic calendar for next Monday, which is rather light. Next week, there's not a ton. Early in the week, there is some stuff later. Of course, it's all about the FOMC next week. On Monday, really the big stuff is manufacturing. And again, I think that this is critical, and I think it's becoming much more relevant to us and much more important to watch these manufacturing numbers, because if you're bullish on the markets, if you really are bullish, then you have to be cheering on this manufacturing number more than anything else. It's not the inflation number. That's under control. It's been going down and down and down and down. I think you got to watch this manufacturing PMI numbers, and we've been below zero for a long time. I mean, this is month after month. One little pop above, but all the way back until November of last year, we've been below it, and that's not a good sign, and it feels like it's extending. So keep your eye on that one on Monday. Earnings-wise on Monday, let me see who we have. I was going to bring them up earlier, but I just wasn't prepared for you guys. Let's go out here and look what we got on Monday. It's only 81 companies reporting. Yeah, Cleveland Cliffs, if you're looking at natural resources, you got Range Resources as well. Domino's Pizza for you pizza junkies. And that's pretty much it. Nothing really that exciting. The real fireworks start on Tuesday, and we'll look at that on our Monday show. So, as I mentioned, I'm going to do a special show for one of the viewers that sent in a ton of questions on the YouTube channel. If you go to YouTube, go to any of the videos that I post. You can put a comment down below. I will generally see those and give you a thumbs up, thanks, or maybe comment on it. I appreciate that. You can also email me at TraderMerlin@gmail.com. Margaret was saying, bring on a mortgage person or somebody in the lending industry. Happy to do that. I think I got a couple people in mind. Just let me know what questions you would like me to ask of them, and I will do my best to get them on the program and clarify any uncertainties or questions you may have. That said, cheers to a great week. Hope you had a good one. I think next week's going to be even more crazy than this week. I do expect the beginning to be rather volatile, but more negative than positive. So I will look to short, and I will tell you guys about those trades on Monday. Cheers to you all. Have a fantastic remainder of your weekend. Do something fun. I will see you guys on Monday. Take care.